Adina was a creature of the night, a beautiful illusion who haunted the busy streets of Accra. The city knew her as a prostitute, but she carried a strange secret. Hi fam, welcome to Sam Diary. Let's dive right into today's story. She was a virgin, and for 3 years, she walked those dangerous streets taking men's money without ever sleeping with a single one. Her method was simple, brilliant, and highly profitable. She would choose her location carefully, outside the fanciest bars and nightclubs. She dressed to look expensive, wearing a tight, vibrant dress and impossible high heels. Her smile was practiced, aimed only at men who looked like they had plenty of money to spend. Men whose wedding rings glinted under the neon light. When a man finally approached her, the negotiation was quick. They would agree on a price, and Adina would lead him away, usually to a cheap hotel room she knew well. Once they were inside the room, the magic began. Adina would become playful, suggesting an exciting twist to the night. She would look deep into his eyes and whisper, "I want to make this moment unforgettable. Let's try something that will blow your mind." From her small stylish bag, she would pull out a pair of shiny handcuffs. The men, blinded by lust and anticipation, always agreed. They believed they were about to have the wildest night of their lives. Adina was a professional in tying them up. She started by securing their wrists on the sturdy metal headboard, then their ankles to the footboard. She did it slowly, making the binding look seductive and professional. The men lay there, excited, helpless, and completely trusting. They waited, heart pounding, for the promised pleasure. But pleasure was not what came next. What came next was Adina moving sweetly and silently. She would grab their wallet, phone, their expensive wristwatch, and any valuable object she could quickly find. Within seconds, she was out of the door and gone, melting into the chaotic streets of Accra. By the time the men managed to rescue themselves or finally raise the alarm, Adina was long gone. Most of her victims were too ashamed to report the robbery to the police. How could a respectable businessman explain to an officer that he was trying to sleep with a prostitute and ended up handcuffed and robbed? Adina depended on this deep, humiliating silence. Adina preferred old men. They generally had more money and they were easier to trick. They were often married businessmen, travelers, or executives who could absolutely not risk their wives finding out about their secret affair. Sometimes, younger, more reckless guys fell into her trap. They were more trouble, tough, because they would get furious and would often try to hunt her down for days. When Adina started this hustle 2 years ago, she had built a wall of self-justification. She told herself that the men deserved it. They were cheating on their wives anyways. They were already willing to spend the money on a cheap thrill, so why not just take the money without having to give them anything in return? She convinced herself she was teaching them a lesson about morality and fidelity. Her original plan was straight. She would do this for only 6 months, save enough money to start a small honest business, and stop completely. But 6 months became 1 year, and a year quickly strayed into 2. The money was simple, too easy. Adina had gotten greedy. She started spending lavishly. Her clothes were designers. Her shoes were the latest styles. She ate at fancy restaurants, laughing easily with her friends. She sent generous amounts of money to her proud mother in the village, telling her she was a successful hotel manager in the big city. Her mother never suspected the dark truth. Adina moved from Spintex to East Legon, thinking the new environment would offer a new and more richer men. She felt untouchable. She believed she could keep running forever. Adina's first real taste of fear came one night in East Legon. She had executed her usual plan flawlessly, robbing a man in a hotel. Later did she realize a massive mistake. The man was a powerful local politician with a known hot temper. This man was not going to be silenced by shame. He was furious at being tricked, and he had the means and the motive to seek revenge. He immediately sent his personal boys, his intimidating security and enforcers, to look for her everywhere. They showed photos of her to every hotel desk, every bar, and every taxi stand in the city. Adina heard the whispers and saw the men asking questions. She knew she had to leave immediately. That night, she left East Legon with only the clothes in her bag. She left her apartment, her savings, and her expensive belongings behind, desperate to disappear. She ended up going to stay with a friend at Kasua. Adina managed to last 6 months, keeping a low profile and sticking to different areas. But the vast city was not big enough to hide her past forever. One sunny afternoon, she was walking through the market, laughing, carrying a bag of groceries, when she heard a voice shout her name. Adina, that's her, the thief. It was a taxi driver, a man who had been one of her victims 6 months earlier. He had seen her from his car and immediately recognized the woman who had humiliated and robbed him. Panic seized Adina. She dropped her bag and ran with all her might. She ran through the busy market, weaving between screaming vendors and shocked shoppers. The taxi driver chased her, shouting her crime for everyone to hear. She never went back to that area again. The incident was a chilling reminder that her face was a liability and her past was catching up with her. She kept moving from one place to another. She kept telling herself she was the smartest in the room, that she was untouchable. She hadn't hurt anyone physically. She reasoned. She was just taking money they were going to foolishly spend anyway. But deep down, Adina knew the cold hard truth. One day her luck would run out. Her biggest, most terrible mistake happened when she decided to go back to East Legon. She targeted a very wealthy and powerful cattle dealer named Chief Mustafa. He was a man with deep, far-reaching connections across the entire country. Chief Mustafa was not like the other men. He did not feel shame. He felt an overpowering, destructive fury. He had been tricked and his pride was severely wounded. He had money, power, and the willingness to use both to teach Adina a lesson. He sent his personal network of enforcers out, giving them an order: find her, no matter what it takes. They began their search systematically. They checked with taxi drivers, hotel workers, and the street vendors in every area in Accra. They showed her a photograph, offering a massive reward for information. It took them 3 agonizing months, but they finally found her. Adina was outside a popular nightclub wearing a dazzling gold dress, just starting her new seduction of a new wealthy victim. As she smiled at the man, she saw a large black SUV slow down across the street. 2 figures emerged, big, grim-faced men who instantly recognized her from the pictures. Adina's blood turned to ice. She didn't hesitate. She turned and ran with every ounce of strength she had left. She ran wildly through the street, weaving between traffics and leaping over gutters. She could hear the heavy footsteps of Chief Mustafa's men pounding close behind her. They cornered her in the dark behind a large quiet church. They beat her badly, very, very badly. Adina screamed. She truly believed in that terrible moment that she was going to die right there. Her screaming saved her life. A woman passing by the front of the church heard the desperate cries and immediately called for help. A group of local area boys, hearing the commotion, rushed there and managed to chase Chief Mustafa's men away. They found Adina on the ground, beaten and bleeding. They rushed her to the nearest hospital. She stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks, barely clinging to life. The medical bills, the endless x-rays, and the treatment took almost all the money she had carefully saved from her years of scams. Adina walked out of the hospital with a body full of scars and a bank account that was nearly empty. She learned her lesson in the most painful way. Every single action has a consequence, and the consequences always run faster than you do. The easy money was gone, and the long run was over. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed today's story, then don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and turn on your notification bell so you don't miss out anytime I post interesting stories like this right here on Sem Diary. Also check out my other video, The Healer's Promise. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.